So, Alex Pereira is facing Khalil Rountree Jr. at UFC 307. I know that basically everyone thinks that Alex Pereira is going to beat Rountree, but there are also certain people, while they think Pereira is going to win, they do give Rountree a decent chance at winning. So I'm here to explain how much of a mismatch this really is. I don't really need to talk about Pereira himself, just because we all know about him. We all know about his skills, we all know that he's really good. His resume does speak for itself, with wins over guys like Israel Adesanya, Sean Strickland, Yuri Prochazka twice, Jamal Hill. So we know why he's the favourite. But why does Khalil Rountree have such a low chance of winning? As you can see from the highlights on screen, he looks like an impressive, dangerous, explosive, aggressive fighter. But this is the highlights. It's just the highlights, let's be honest. Anyone can look good in their highlights. For a bit of context, people seem to consider Rowntree's career as if it's in two stages, the first of which being in the lead up to the Eric Anders fight. I don't think it's worth mentioning any fights that include grappling, just because obviously Pereira's not going to shoot any takedowns, and I'd be surprised if Rountree shoots any takedowns. So for his first 7 fights in the UFC, he was known as someone who was fun to watch and entertaining, but not someone who was actually good or elite level. At least that was until the Eric Anders fight, where Rountree would put on one of the most defining performances of his career, dropping Anders multiple times and looking very, very clean in the process, which would be remembered as a mythical performance, similar to Garbrandt versus Cruz or McGregor versus Alvarez. But there is a difference between those fights. Garbrandt produced that performance against the reigning champion in Dominic Cruz, arguably the greatest bantamweight of all time, and McGregor did it against the reigning lightweight champion Eddie Alvarez. And Rountree fought Eric Anders, who's to this day still just a journeyman, let's be honest. So because of this fight, people seem to believe that this was a new and improved Rountree, who was going to become a real threat to the light heavyweight division. So fans were really curious to see who his next fight would be against. That next fight would be against Ion Cutelaba, who would beat the shit out of him and stop him in round 1. But in fairness, we didn't really get to see Rountree striking in that fight, only his wrestling. So when his next fight was booked against Marcin Prachnio, who was 0-3 in the UFC, all 3 losses being by finish in round 1, the expectation was that Rountree should easily win this fight. But even though wrestling wasn't even a factor in this fight, Prachnio would still outstrike Rountree in the first and third round of the fight to win a convincing unanimous decision, which set Khalil's career down even further. After that fight, he'd begin a winning streak by stomping out Bukowski's leg and then knocking out Carl Roberson. But I believe that winning streak should have stopped at 2, because his third fight would be against Dustin Jacoby. Anyone who's seen the fight will tell you that's a robbery. Rountree did throw the hardest strikes, but he missed most of them, and Jacoby landed at least 6 for every one that Rountree would land. But regardless, 2 judges would give the win to Rountree, and then Rountree would go on to win 2 more fights in a row by knockout, the first of which being against Chris Daukaus, who is useless, and the other being against Anthony Smith, who on paper is pretty good, but not really. So in conclusion, Pereira by knockout.